I'm fuzzy looking. Not just my beard either. That's funny. Hold on, let me get y'all some more light on here. Oh, this West S, first off, the information we're going to be going over is not mine. I didn't own this. I don't have any rights to it. But I did find it on a public web page, and I'm going to share it. I will link it in the description. But it's theatomicarchive.com is what I got this from. Go read the whole thing. I'm just going to skim over it. Somebody, he's got a big long red beard and he ain't got no hair, said that somebody ought to do a scientific whatever. So I'm going to do some science. And what he was going over, I've got the chart. It took me a little bit to find this. That chart about the 50 and the 15 and the 35, the 35 thermal, 15 nuclear, and 50% energy blast. Anyway, that's page 1. There's 24 pages. Every one of them made me want to wet my pants a little bit. The energy from a nuclear weapon. One of the fundamental differences between a nuclear and a conventional explosion is that nuclear explosions can be many thousands or millions of times more powerful than the largest conventional detonations. Both types of weapons rely on the destructive force of the blast or shock wave. However, the temperatures reached in a nuclear explosion are very, I like the way they put this, very much higher than in a conventional explosion. And a large proportion of the energy is in a nuclear explosion is emitted in the form of light and heat, generally referred to as thermal energy. The energy is capable of causing skin burns and starting fires at considerable distances. Nuclear explosions are also accompanied by various forms of radiation lasting a few seconds to remaining dangerous over an extended period of time. I'm going to jump ahead on that, up to 5 years. The half-life of this stuff can be up to 5 years. It can kill you 5 years from now. You walk into a pile of it and you die. 5 years from the day the bomb goes off. Sucks. It says 85% of the blast is the air blast. Is producing the air blast. That's the actual boom. You know, when you like to fuse a little firecracker and it goes out, boom. That noise it makes, and then it throws the Coke can 15 feet or whatever. That's the air blast, or the explosion, if you will. Lots of things happen in an explosion. You have ignition, an expansion, and the damage, in a nutshell. That's what happens in an explosion. The explosive ignites, it expands rapidly. It's the same thing that launches that slug out there into your gun. And it produces heat and damage, if you will. There's a formula here. EMT equals Y to the second over the third, where Y is megatons. I don't know nothing about math. Anyway, like I said, I'll link this. If y'all know math, y'all can do it. I know a couple pages down it says that the point of the blast, where the bomb actually goes off, the temperature is the same as inside the sun, 1 million degrees Celsius. That's a weenie roast. Here's a little tidbit for you, for those who want to know radius. One bomb with a yield of 1 megaton would destroy 80 square miles. Okay. While 8 bombs each with a yield of 125 kilotons. That's 8 bombs the same size as, or with the same boom power as the one bomb, would destroy 160 square miles. So you get a lot more bang for your buck out of a bunch of little ones than you do out of a few big ones. This relationship is one reason for the development of delivery systems that could carry multiple warheads. I think, if I remember right, some of them 24 warheads, 12 to 24 warheads in one missile. You see a missile coming over the horizon, then you're not looking at one bomb. You're looking at 6, 8, 10, 12, 24 bombs in one missile. Thereby raising the damage exponentially. Because none of the energy is wasted. It's all spread out. Each one has its own little blast radius. Instead of it all going in one spot and most of it being wasted going up. You know what I'm saying? Pretty bad talk. Basic effects of nuclear weapons. This is on page 2. Nuclear explosions produce both immediate and delayed destructive effects. Blast, thermal, radiation, and prompt ionizing radiation cause significant destruction within seconds or minutes of nuclear detonation. The delayed effects, such as radioactive fallout and other possible environmental effects, and there's a lot of those, inflict damage over an extended period ranging from hours to years. Each of these effects are calculated from the point of detonation. Ground zero refers to the point of the Earth's surface immediately below or above the point of detonation. For a burst over or under water, the corresponding point is generally called surface zero. The term surface zero or surface ground zero is also commonly used for ground surface and underground explosions in some publications. Blah, blah, blah. Blast effects. Most damage comes from explosive blast. The shock wave of air radiates outward, producing sudden changes in air pressure. That's the whole thing I told you about. The boom. That's the bomb. That's the explosion. The magnitude of the blast effect is related to the height of the burst above the ground. For any given distance from the center of the explosion, there is an optimum burst height that would produce a greatest change in air pressure called overpressure. And the greater the distance, the greater the optimum burst height. As a result, a burst of surface produces the greatest overpressure at very close ranges, but less overpressure than air burst at somewhat longer ranges. When a nuclear weapon is detonated on or near the surface, the blast digs out a large crater. Some of the material that used in the crater is deposited on the rim, blah blah blah. Just is carried up into the air, returns to Earth as radioactive fallout. An explosion that is farther above the Earth's surface than the radius of the fireball does not dig a crater and produces negligible immediate fallout. For the most part, a nuclear blast kills people by indirect means rather than by direct pressure. Approximately 35% of the energy from a nuclear explosion is intense burst of thermal radiation, i.e. heat. That 10 in bed you was talking about, yes. And you got your flash blindness. Let me see if I can get to the, try to skip over and just get the good parts in here. This whole thermal radiation effects. If you're anywhere close, and by anywhere close I mean anywhere close to one of these bombs, you're done. I mean, you're burnt to a crisp. Uh, Even if something shields you from the immediate flash, the radiation is going to flood your system, and ain't no iodine pill is going to help. Uh, it's here. Like I said, I'll put the link and you can read this. It's actually, there's no way I can cover it all in 30 minutes. It's fallout, and that's what freaks a lot of people out. And again, you got to read this whole thing, but fallout doesn't last forever. There are some of it that will, but that stuff will all be deposited in places and it burns up. When the bomb goes off, everything starts to burn. The bomb is burning. The radiation, the fallout radiation, is because the fire went into the dirt or the building or whatever and was absorbed by the concrete, the roofing tiles, all that, and then was thrown all over the place. The radiation is now trapped in there and trying to burn that stuff up. It's trying to burn all the concrete and the roofing material and the sand and the clay up, but it can't. So it just burns real slow inside of it. Instead of getting burned up in the bomb, like, or in the air, like, if it goes off in the air, it's a bigger bomb, a bigger radius with no fallout because all the radiation burns up. Basically, that's very la la la. There's still some fallout, but the particles are just going to stay up there and burn out on their own. The problem with hitting the ground is the particles have mass and they'll come back down. And then for however long that particular isotope takes to burn out, most of it burns out in a few days. But some of them can last up to 5 years. That's there too. You get the types of nuclear explosion, you got above ground, below ground, blah blah blah. Basically what it boils down to is it really doesn't matter what kind it is. There's some pictures of what the shock wave will do. Or the blast wave. That's what everybody pictures killing everybody, is fallout or the blast wave. And it's the heat that gets you anywhere close to ground zero, and then it's the busted internal organs and bones and everything, however far out. One of the things on here says that the shock wave can take 30 seconds to get to you. It's still strong enough for you to be able to feel it, or to be a threat to you. 30 seconds after the detonation. That's a big shock wave. It's a big shock wave. How far can sound travel in 30 seconds? Just saying. Just wondering. It's a long ways. So, yeah. It's not a bad idea to have a hole. Shock waves cause a virtually instantaneous jump in pressure at the shock point. The combination of the pressure jump, called the overpressure, and the dynamic pressure causes blast damage. Both the overpressure and the dynamic pressure reach to their maximum values upon the arrival of the shock wave. Then they decay over a period ranging from a few tenths of a second to several seconds, depending on the blast strength and the yield. That's how long that wave, as that wave rolls over your body, how long it's allowed to do damage to you. And that depends on how close you are to the blast, how big the blast was. Y'all following me on this? Page 3 has a bunch of numbers. Or 4 rather. Page 4 has a bunch of numbers. That's something you go read. Blast effects on humans. Actually says that we can survive the shockwave. Blast damage is caused by the arrival of the shockwave created by an under or a nuclear explosion. Humans are actually quite resistant to the direct effect of overpressure. Pressures of over 40 psi are required before lethal effects are noted. The danger from overpressure comes from the collapse of buildings that are generally not as resistant. So basically, the bomb's going to knock you down and then cover you up with everything you own, or the neighbor owns, or the guy in the other county owns. I just read this. It's like the way it's a curve. Like everybody pictures the shockwave coming across, following the planet across. It doesn't. It's like it hits, and then as it widens out. Instead of all the pressure being right here following the ground, it like spreads. So the further out you get, the less effect it's going to be. It doesn't actually just, it spreads out. It doesn't just dwindle. It spreads out until it becomes less noticeable. It's a difference. This taught me something that I should have already known. And then we're going to goes over thermal radiation. I can't, like I said, I can't cover all this. But this is the one I believe. Yeah. The temperature of a nuclear explosion. Temperatures of a nuclear explosion reach those of the interior of the sun about 1 billion degrees Celsius. Well, I think that's past glass. I don't know if it's going to make it glass. And this is some thermal radiation damage depends very strongly on weather conditions. Clouds or smoke in the air can considerably reduce the effective damage ranges versus clear conditions. Hopefully it's raining when they bomb us. That's what they'll say it is. And then the fireball, same thing. You don't want to look at it. Yada, yada, yada. Basically, the radius, safe radius from outside of a bomb varies depending on the size of the bomb, depending on where it's detonated. Everybody knows about the mushroom cloud. I didn't realize it could stay up there for that long. Stay up there 30, 40 minutes or something like that. About an hour before it starts to disperse. So it just kind of hangs out there. Thermal pulse effect, that's where the heat that you don't see it comes through and it cooks you. And that's going to take out a lot of people, because once you get burnt, if you get enough of your body's burnt, you die. Period. Second or third degree burns, it doesn't matter. If enough of you's burnt, you're done. Firestorms. That was relatively interesting. Basically, there's so much heat produced that it starts so many little fires that the little fires feed each other and actually cause their own wind, which feed them more, which causes crazy stupid hot fires. All of them adding to the cloud in the sky, which produces the nuclear winter, which causes months of no sun, which causes everything to die, which wipes everything on the planet out. Yay. I didn't write this stuff. I'm just reading it. And yeah, flash burns. Y'all gonna picture yourself. Flash blindness. Don't look. Not even with your glasses on. Nuclear radiation, residual. This is the stuff. The initial radiation, residual radiation. Stuff that it was saying. Yeah, hazardous for months or years. You know, so it all depends. So Geiger counter is really not that bad an investment. That way, when you're out chasing bunny rabbits, you know whether you're fixing to start glowing in the dark before you die. And then we got the effects and blah blah blah. I want to get back over to page 17. That's where there's some good stuff on 17. I remember that. Yeah. This is the fallout. Well, fallout is a radioactive particle. Is the radioactive particles that fall from Earth to the Earth as a result of nuclear explosion. It consists of weapon debris, fission products, and in the case of ground bursts, radiated soil. Fallout particles vary in size from thousandths of a millimeter to several millimeters, such as the material falls directly back down close to ground zero within several minutes after the explosion, but some travels high into the atmosphere, blah blah blah, spreading fallout. Most radiation hazard from nuclear bursts comes from short-lived radionuclides, whatever, you read it, external to the body. These are generally confined to the locally downwind of the weapon. Locality, downwind of the weapon burst. The radiation hazard comes from radioactive fission fragments with half-lives of seconds or a few months, and from soil and other materials in the vicinity of the burst made radioactive by the intense neutron flux. Strontium 90 and cesium 137 are the ones that are the ones you don't want to miss finding, because they're the ones that stay around for 5 or 6 years. 1 to 5 years after the attack. But all I'm saying, I'll link this in the deal. I'm gonna wrap this up real quick for 23 minutes. I did a video, put it on YouTube, saying that you could survive a nuclear war. Almost all of the radiation anywhere besides at the ground zeros will have dissipated within 14 days. Now, depending on the amount of fallout you get covering you up, because if it gets trapped under mass and yada yada. Anyway, after 14 days in 80-something% of the country, you can walk back outside. Shirt sleeves and a dust mask. That's 14 days. 28 days. 28 days later. 28 days. It's safe for just about everybody. There's going to be pockets of places where you can't go. Even those pockets of places, in theory, will be safe and clean to go to after 4 or 5 years. And it's not going to be like, oh, die, and then 5 years, those places are just going to shrink or lessen in deadliness. You know, that old viper's venom running low kind of thing. So, all these people, oh, you wouldn't want to survive a nuclear war anyhow. Well, there's not gonna be nothing left but skeletons that glow in the dark. No. There's gonna be a lot of people wishing they'd have stacked up a whole lot more water and beans. I mean, you know, all of them clamoring, fighting over the same deer feeder, trying to get to that corn. Y'all know where the deer feeders are? I'll do. I'll get there first. Make sure ain't nobody at the blind. What suck? That boy's stealing my deer's corn. Have you mounted on the wall? It can be done. You just need some safe place to go. There you go. Takes 3 feet of packed soil. That means you throw it up on there and you walk on it. And if you're going to pack soil, you throw 6 inches of dirt, you walk on it. Throw 6 inches more dirt and you walk on it. Throw 6 inches more dirt and you walk on it. And you're going to have to do that a lot more than 3 foot work. Because when you throw 6 inches of dirt and walk on it, you wind up with 4 inches of dirt. Depending on the dirt. If you just throw 3 foot of dirt on there, you've only got about 1.5 foot of dirt. You've got to pack it down. And you want to throw 3 foot of dirt on there and pack it. Because then you're only going to pack the top 8 or 10 inches. So instead of having 3 foot of dirt, you only got like 1 foot of dirt. Or 1.5 foot or something, 2 foot. Anyway, you're getting irradiated. You don't want to do that. Lead is good. Inch of lead will do. Same thing, 1 foot of dirt will do. Lead's expensive. You'd think steel would be good because it's got a lot of weight to it, a lot of mass to it. Apparently it's some kind of conductor. So, something's better than nothing though. Wood. But it takes a lot of wood. If all you've got is a crawl space under your house, that's better than nothing. Pick a part of your house, you see it come and literally take everything you own and throw it in the floor in that one room. Get in the scuttle hole and crawl under your house and stay your happy butt under all that stuff you threw in the floor in the master bedroom or wherever. Because it's the mass that catches the radiation that stops it from getting to you. It's the mass, the physical existence of material is going to stop. The denser the material, the more trouble the isotope has getting through it. So by the time it works its way halfway through the sheet of lead, it's burned out. It can't just like magically go through it. It has to burn through it. That kind of thing. You need a place to go and something to eat and drink until everything gets right, and then until you can get everything right again. Most places out there, literally after an event like this, all you're going to have to do is put on dust mask, cover yourself up, make so you don't get it right on your skin. And this is just precaution, actually. And then go out there and till everything. Run the water hose. Get it in the ground. And then let it finish doing its stuff. Next year, everything will be good to go. If all the other stuff that's in here that they predict about the firestorms and the nuclear winter and this, that, and everything else, if we don't have to worry about that. Which even that's doable. These people are all rich and smart. They wouldn't be considering any of this if there wasn't a way to live through it and live through it well. So, gas masks are a good plan. For gas masks not going to stop radiation coming through the whole port. Like, I'll go to gas mask on, the radiation's not going to get me. Dust mask or 2 bandanas, just as long as you keep that dust from getting in your lungs. And those little painter suits or whatever. Yeah, just something don't want it setting on your skin. You don't want it on your skin. That's where the pollen comes in. Because when that particle touches your skin, it starts to burn you. And what it's burning you with is radiation, and that radiation is going into contaminating your body. Basically, walking in radioactive fallout is you can't see them, but you are surrounded by the flames of that material. The material's still burning. You're surrounded in invisible flames, and it's cooking you real slow. Dang it! I knew it wouldn't make 30 minutes, but that's it. It's atomicarchive.com. Go check it out. This I'll link it. Read through it. And there's another one. The other one was actually a cheery video. I was more telling you how you could survive one and why you would want to. This nuclear war is not a nobody wins situation, or they wouldn't be considering it. That's it. It's the only reason they hadn't done it already is because they're still not sure who'd come out on top. They don't know who's got the best plan. That's it. That's all. They hadn't figured out they figure out who'll get their butt kicked yet. That's all. And the downside to it now, we got a guy playing that doesn't care. He's one of those guys that, you may kill me, but I'm gonna give you a black eye all the way out. That's it. That's what we got playing. So, yeah. Try not to go in the dark. Help somebody. Could just as easy being you walking down the road, just needing a little something to get you where you're going. That bad guy out there, chances are he was a good guy at one point. You never know. That would be.